What's going on, my friends? Every Tuesday. What are we doing? What are we doing over here? We're going to have us some fun today. Not in ideal video making conditions for the next couple weeks, in fact, but it is what it is. And the great thing about video is that if you have something good to say, which I believe I do, then you can do it. It doesn't really matter. You know what? Hey, you're not in a great environment. You don't have your best camera. You don't have all the things set up the way you want to. You can still do it. So what we're going to look at today, there's been a lot of discussion lately. Hey, what is how much have prices dropped? Because what happens a lot of times is people will take a worst case scenario or they'll hear about this one home. Well, I saw this one listing reduce their price $112,000. But what's going on with the actual market? There's a couple things I want to show you today on that, and it is just kind of it is like there's data all over the place. We're going to look at Altos and we're going to look at Redfin. I like Altos. This is typically what we're looking at here when I go through and we look at the market action index. At 55 is the lowest I've seen in a long time, which is heading towards a buyer's market and really close to it. And I would say really we're probably there. Look at Redfin. They have more data. So they are a broker. So they're plugged into MLS. So they have all the MLS data, plus they have all their own data as well. So Redfin is really just like the data king, and they really have everything. So we're going to look at both of those. That's how we're going to do this. And I'm going to try to look at overall. I'm going to do these calculations with you live. Look at those. We're going to look at interest rates today, holding our uptrend on mortgage bonds, which is great. This article will also discuss Homebuilders say that the U.S. is in a housing recession. Not in a recession. It's just a housing recession. So we're going to look at that and see how much can we trust the home builders. Can you trust them at all for any reason, any point, any time? That's probably a better question. And then I'm going to start here real quick by just showing you this, because if you're interested in the San Diego housing market, this is one thing you're going to want to see. And I posted this on Facebook. So you can see this all right. And what this is it's a culmination of what I've been discussing now for months about the normalization of a market. What happens when a market normalizes? Well, at first, it tends to sort of go, whoa, like this, and then it kind of normalizes, right? And this new normal comes in, assuming that all of the information is on the table, meaning that we know about all the bad and the good things that are happening. If bad things continue to come in, then that can keep getting bigger and bigger. But if all that bad information comes and is on the table, then it should start to normalize from there. And so that's exactly what's been happening. You could argue this in a couple different ways, but I'm just going to go ahead and say mid-June. Okay. And that's 2 months now. This I got from, the reason why it says DeVore up here is because I got this from Brian DeVore's Monday Market Moment. Subscribe to YouTube. Trust me, you're going to, it's really, really good. Very statistically oriented. And so if you want just pure stats, it's a great place to get it. Now, someone argued with me that on this chart, and I think it's a decent argument, that this upward trend here is kind of misleading, that really, pending sales, which are the orange bar here. Okay. So the orange bars are the pending homes. It really should just be like a straight line across. And I'll give that to you. So let's just say that that's what it is. Let's say that really this line should be just more straight across, not exactly, an upward trend. Let's just say that that's really where it should be. Okay. Just to be fair, because we have seen relatively consistent number of homes sold, and this is by week. So each week in San Diego. But the main thing, the most important thing, in my opinion, is you look at the decreasing inventory. Now, Dan Parker and I were talking about this seasonally. This makes sense. We usually see inventory decline from the middle of the year to the end of the year. And as people become less and less willing to put their home on the market, sell, and move heading into the holidays, just typical in San Diego County. If you're in Ohio or something like that, this may not be your local market, but in San Diego, that's how it works. And this is exactly what's happening. So even if demand is steady, which you have to agree that demand is definitely not decreasing. You could say demand is increasing in recent weeks. You could say it's been the same for a couple of months, but it's been steady. If you have steady demand and decreasing supply, this is, you guessed it, bullish for real estate. So this is what I've been talking about on a chart. And I talk about these things. I know some people just listen for whatever reason, my voice puts them to sleep, or whatever reason they're subscribed. But for people who need charts, for people who need numbers, this will do it for you here. That shows you what I'm trying to say. Normalization, demand is normalized, supply is decreasing, the market is starting to find itself. Okay. Now we do have some really interesting things going on with like very big sellers like Opendoor, which is currently sticking their entire foot in the water to see if it's better for them to sell their homes on the open market or to package them up and sell them to, that's right, BlackRock. We broke that on this. We broke that. Like that was, I talked about it. Not a soul was talking about that. But they're going to, these institutional sellers are going to try the traditional route. They have all the infrastructure in place. They have real estate agents in these local markets. They're going to try to sell their homes that way. And some of them will do it that way because they'll feel like it's better. But if it's not, guess who's there? The rock that's BlackRock will be there, and they will buy it for a discount and all bundle it together. No commissions, none of that crap, right? No contingencies, no time frame, none of that. Just give us the houses. But it's probably going to be 70 cents on the dollar. So, or maybe less. So they're going to have to see if the open market is better. And that's another big thing that's going on right now. Okay, let's take a look at this. So great thing about the Redfin site here, and I'm going to put this link in the description. You can look up different markets in here. You can look up, like, for example, let me just go back one. By the way, you find this if you're on the site under buy, and then click on US housing market right there. So just show you where this goes. And then you type in your area right here. So whether it's San Diego or Temecula or whatever you want to look it up in here, type it in. Okay. San Diego. Now you can also do by any home type. So you can do single family homes, townhomes, condos. We're going to do all home types. Okay. Because I want to know overall the whole market, what is going on. I could break this down by condos or single families or whatever. We're not going to do that. So what you can see right here immediately, right away, you get three nice pieces of information. Median sale price, 905,000. That's up 12% year over year. Number of homes sold, about 1,100, which is down a third year over year. And median days on market is 12, which is +2 for year over year. Okay, now they're bringing this data out monthly. Okay, so we have this going up until June, through June 2022. We don't have July here yet. Is lagging a little bit. So we'll have to see what the numbers look like in July. We'll have to see what the numbers look like in August. We're just going to have to kind of be a little bit behind on this. But if you look at this and you go, okay, well, we're still up 12% year over year, but what's the worst case scenario? What if you're like at the top and you purchased at the exact top? Well, according to this, and we're going to look at Altos and see what they say as well. The number shows up, populates down here. So 933,750 was the top, and that was in April. And we are live, by the way, on like everything. So if you like Twitter, Facebook, YouTubes, if anyone has an argument that April was not the top month for this year, please let me know. Frankie Valadez, I don't know who that is, James. Are you tagging someone? Okay, that's probably what it is. I think he's tagging someone. Thanks, James. Just to prove to you that we're live, I'm going to answer some questions and just get some comments. So Derrick, are you seeing more deals with owner financing component to them? I'm not seeing that, by the way. Bill Ashton, real quick, seeing 12% pending on the area from the peak. Okay, 12%. Well, let's see if that's right. So if we go from 933,750 to 905, I've already done the math on this. Is the only one I've already done the math on. It's about 3%. So overall, San Diego through June, remember, we don't have July data in here. We don't have August data in here. Through June, market from peak, the peak, if you got in April at the very, very top, you're down 3%. That'll probably look more like 6% if we bring that through July. That's my guess. It could be a little bit more, a little bit less. But we're talking, remember, okay, my prediction was 5 to 10%, right? Pullback. So I think we're going to land right in that range. And this will kind of lead you to believe that. So that's for all home types, San Diego through June, down 3% from the top. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people will do the calculations that way. They'll say, oh, well, from the top, we're down this much. But that's not really indicative of what everyone who owns that thing is, where they are actually at. because you would have had to bought in April to actually be in that position. So how many people bought in April? Those are the only group of people who are in that position. Potentially, some of them may not even be, because individual deals could be different. But people who bought before that, look, going back any amount of time. I mean, how far back do we have to go? If you bought in February, really March, what was March? 920. So if you bought in February or any time in the history of the country prior to that, you're still up nicely. So you have to keep in mind the way that the media particularly, or the real estate bears, are going to frame this, is they're going to continually talk about the absolute peak top versus where we are. And that is not the actual situation that most people are in. So you bought anytime in February or before, just in history, even if you bought at the top before the crash, the actual crash, you're up. But only people who bought in April might be down, and people who bought in May might also be down a little bit, but not by a lot. It goes from 920 to 905 there, so that's what, 2%ish less. So not a big number here as far as downside is concerned. Now let's look at Altos. Now this data here is typically what we're looking at on this channel. I like to look at the same source of data when we're trying to compare things. This market action index being at 55 is the lowest I've seen it in a long time. And that went from 62 last month. So that's a pretty big decrease. What's nice about this one is you get to see how these different things are trending. We'll look at what we always look at. Price per square foot, definitely trending lower, right? You can see that. And we kind of marked those points out where, it's like, hey, typically we come off the 90-day average and go higher. At least that's what's happened the last several years. Now it's gone lower. But let's look peak to trough. Okay, let's go worst case scenario. Let's give the bears what they want. Let's show them the absolute worst case. So and I'll use a 7-day average even, which is more volatile. So 7-day average, highest we got here was $710 a foot. Okay. And if you think about it, that is pretty wild. I mean, when we had, before the crash, things were listed for 500 square foot. We all laughed and just thought it was crazy. So granted, that's 15 years ago, but okay. So 710 to 664. 710 to 664. So that is 3646 divided by 710. So what's 46 divided by 710? That's what we're going to find out. 46 divided by 710. That's 6.5%. And this is going to be a little bit more up to date. Yeah, so this is much more up to date. This is actually through last week on Altos. So through last week in San Diego, 6.47, 6.5% absolute peak to current. So if you're at absolute peak to current, you're down 6%. Guys, that's not a crash. Hate to break the news. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. I know I've shocked by how much hate mail I've been getting for a guy who's literally being optimistic, but I mean, just being honest. I'm looking at the data here. We've got consistent demand, decreasing inventory. This is current now. Okay. So we've been talking about data that's a little bit lagging. Currently, consistent demand, decreasing inventory. We're in a situation where, if you look at the most up-to-date data, overall, the entire market is down about 6.5%. That's what we call a get your gun out, pull the trigger kind of pullback in a bull run, which is what's going on. Mortgage rates also hanging in there. We're still on the lower end of the trend line, which scares me. I mean, we've been here before. We've had 2 touches here, okay, already. We had a 3rd touch on Friday. You don't want to see those trend lines get touched too much. I would really like to see some upside here. Can we please get some upside? Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. Somebody please give us some upside before it's too late, because what could happen here is this could break down. Now, there's lots of support now. We have multiple layers of support underneath this here, but we want to see these bond prices go higher, aka rates go lower, and it's set up nicely for it. We just need a catalyst to get in there and start moving this thing the direction that it needs to go. Okay, one more, and then we'll get to some more comments. So we're live on all kinds of stuff. You want to drop comments, you want to ask questions, you want to yell at me because I'm too bullish, feel free to go ahead and do so. Home builders. Oh, the home builders. Let's see, did I do that right? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm not in the best place to execute video, but I'm doing it anyway. Home builders say U.S. is in a housing recession as sentiment turns negative. Oh, well, listen, if you have the most expensive product on the market, and I mean by far, and you are an institution trying to sell homes to people, yeah, you're not in the best position for this market. You just aren't. You just aren't. National Association of Home Builders and the Wells Fargo Housing Market Index dropped 6 points in August to 49. Anything below 50 is considered negative. So it just got negative. Why did a home builder sentiment get negative? Because people weren't lining up to buy their homes anymore. They've alienated the real estate community completely. They're not wanting to bring people to them. They've done the exact same thing that they did multiple times before. Idiots that they are, by alienating the real estate community and having the most expensive product on the market. You need salespeople. You need a sales force for that. They should be paying real estate agents a bigger commission than anything else because you've got the most expensive product. There's a few moments in time when it sells itself because demand is through the roof. And at that point in time, they always drop their sales organ. Dummies that they are. So this marks the 8th straight decline in the index. And here's what they said. National Association of Home Builders chief economist said this: tighter monetary policy from the Federal Reserve and persistent elevated construction costs have brought on a housing recession. Well, I don't know if the tighter, listen, the tighter monetary policy from the Federal Reserve, which he's kind of blaming that on interest rates. So, hey, but he could just say higher interest rates and persistent elevated construction costs have caused a problem. The elevated construction costs is a real thing. Higher interest rates is a real thing. Can't blame them for that. But this is very typical of like, we're not going to own it, right? Extreme ownership. Jocko Willink, read the book. Own everything. Own every problem. Own every issue. Always put it on yourself. What could I have done differently? Even if there's no way you could have seen it coming. These folks, these builders should have been able to see this coming. They should have known better. They have data. They have their own in-house everything. They make people use their lenders so they can have all this stuff in-house. If you're going to have all this data, if you're going to have all this information, you should be able to make better decisions from the average home seller, but you're not. Now, the other thing is with home builders is that they're locked into these projects for very long periods of time. So it's really, really difficult. Like you go into, imagine if you're a home builder, you're saying, hey, we're going to build 300 houses and sell them 3.5 years from now. Like that's your whole game plan. So that's a very difficult position to be in. Long story short, don't listen to the home builders ever. Don't listen to them. They do make up a portion of the market. I will say this: in Missouri, where I look for properties on a regular basis, they are pretty much it. Like there's no inventory at all. Pretty much the only homes on the market are new houses, new construction. It's crazy. So there's a lot of markets where I think it's still good for them. There's a lot of markets where we could use more new construction, but there's a lot of markets where these new builders have come in and they're building these homes for just insane prices. I mean, insane. And that's before you get to the higher tax rates, the Mello-Roos, the HOA fees, etc. So yeah, don't listen to the home builders, long story short. Okay. Let's jump over here. I appreciate. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. James Brennis in the house. He was tagging somebody. Good man. Good man. You want your friends to be smarter than everyone else. I'm sure they appreciate that. I know that I do. Yeah, I saw that too. Yes, there's tons of companies leaving the Bay Area and coming to San Diego. This is one of my 3 years ago, one of my big bull predictions for San Diego marketplace was that would happen, that we would get like a huge chunk of Silicon Valley to come to San Diego. We don't need the whole thing. 10%, 12%, it's plenty. It would absolutely explode us. We might get more like 50% of it. I mean, the more digital, the more remote, the better. Because a lot of that stuff, was just anchored by the brick and mortar element of it. And that's pretty much gone. So I think you're going to see more and more and more of this. I'm seeing more and more of the individuals moving, not the companies. People who work for tech companies in San Francisco or Bay Area. And they just themselves move down here because they can work remotely. So yeah, that's a big thing. It's a big part of the bull run for this marketplace. And it's going to be for a long, long time because San Diego is dramatically better weather-wise, geography-wise, people-wise. Sorry, friends from SF. Sorry, some of y'all are great. But most of y'all who are great, you left there to come here. That tells me something about you. The people who stay are the ones that are the problem. No offense. So I do think that, we're going to continue to see that work in our benefit here in San Diego. So hopefully use this link, like check this out. It's something that's really, really easy to do. You can look at any market in here. There's tons of data, and Redfin is a little bit lagging there. The Altos is still going to be more recent, and that's where it went from the 3% to the 6%. I was kind of expecting it to be more like 6-8%. I think 10% drawdown overall is probably the maximum we would see. But within that, there's going to be some homes that you're going to see that sell for 20% under or sell for 22% less or whatever. There's going to be worst case scenarios like that. And there's going to be homes that still sell for full market value. There's going to be homes that are still selling for over list, depending upon the area. So if you really want to know what's going on in the market, you can't look at the best case scenario. You can't look at the worst case scenario. You have to look at the overall market itself. It's the only thing that's fair. It's the only thing that makes any sense. And it's the only thing that I don't see people doing right now. So here's, Apple. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. I guess we can talk about that. What do you think of Apple buying a $450 million office complex in 92127? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We actually did talk about that story a little while back, but great point to bring up, James. Appreciate you. So here's the deal. What's going on right now? There's people who are getting crazy loan quotes. I'm going to tell you why. Mortgage bankers are screwed here at this point. And the reason is because the way they operate their business is based on a certain amount of hard costs that they have. And what they do is they look at the volume they did last month. They know what their bills are to pay next month. And so they increase their margins. I just spoke with a man yesterday who was quoted 6+% on an FHA loan. We were able to get him pre-approved at 4.375. Okay. And this is a guy with good credit. There's no reason for that. But it's because he was talking to a mortgage bank. Now, he talked to 3 different mortgage banks, and they all told him about the same thing. So he thought that must be what it is. Fortunately, his realtor is a rock star. They were like, no, you need to call this guy right here. Make sure you're getting the right deal because that don't sound right to me. This is the reason why I text out rates to agents, because I want them to know what the real rates are so they can advise their clients appropriately. Right now, there's a lot of really ugly mortgage quotes going on out there. Do not do this to yourself. Do not allow this to happen to your friends, family, clients. Make sure they get a double check on the situation, especially if it doesn't sound right. Make sure they double check. You can double check with me very quickly and easily. Email me, call me, text me. I only need a couple pieces of information. We don't need to pull credit. Let's make sure that you're getting the best deal that you can get on whether you're trying to buy or refi. Let's make sure you get hooked up. Okay. I will hook you up like a tow truck. That is what we do. We want to save you money. Okay. All right. Man, a lot of stuff going on. Market is pulled back, but it isn't that bad. I'm just waiting for all the comments that are going to come in. People tell me I have the wrong data, but you saw me. You saw where I got it from. You know where it came from. That's pretty reputable, right? Redfin, Altos Research. Guys, it's real. It's here. Maybe one of the best buying opportunities that we will see in San Diego real estate right now. And for everyone who's worried about me, oh, Derrick, be careful. Don't tell people that. Much riskier to tell people not to get in. Hey, go spend 50 grand for the next year on nothing. And then we'll see. Not the way to go. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll see y'all soon. Take care.